There's more to imagine when you listen, so let your imagination soar with Audible. Audible has audio titles from every genre that will inspire you to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. As an Audible member, you get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog. Enjoy an exciting reawakening of a beloved classic with the Audible original David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, produced by Academy Award-winning director Sam Mendes, starring Ncuti Gatwa, Helena Bonham Carter, and Theo James. This adaptation breathes new life into a familiar tale. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Edit audio.
I'm not sure if I'm looking back at my past with a pair of rose-colored glasses, but I tend to think that my 20s and 30s were filled with a lot of joy. And now I am in a different phase in my life, and I have teenagers, and my knees hurt, and it leaves me asking myself some really hard questions, like, am I having fun these days? And if I'm not, when did I stop having fun? And if all of this is true, where in the hell do I go to try to find my joy? Like, is she hiding in a bush? Is she asking for Lexapro? Can writing in a journal help me find her? I mean, seriously, Joy, where are you? Hello? Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, well, reclaiming joy. Hello, friends. All right, we are back at it. We're trying to be well. We're trying to be adjusted. And speaking of being well adjusted, what happens when you lose your joy? Today's guest is Molly Rose, and she is joining us to talk about just that. Okay, she went back to university, or uni, as she says in her very cool British accent, as a mature student, so not 18. And she was so focused on changing her career path and nailing her grades and coming out with a new purpose that somewhere along the way, she thinks she might have dropped her joy, and she just can't seem to find it. So we have a absolutely lovely chat about what brings joy, changes in life transitions, and what to do next. Can we help Molly Rose find some joy, or was it in her all along? Well, friends, you are going to have to listen to find out. Here we go.
My name's Molly Rose. I am a journalist, audio producer, and researcher, and I am based in Bristol in the UK.
We're international. I love this. Okay, so can you tell us, like, in a sentence, the main issue of why you wanted to talk today?
Yeah, definitely. So I went back into education in my 30s, was in education for about 5 years up until about a month ago. And during that time, I threw myself like face first into learning everything I could, getting the top marks I could. And I've come out of it and I completely forgotten what brings me joy. And I've kind of gone back to the things that I thought brought me joy before, and I'm just not getting the same out of it. So it's like, I feel like I've lost that sparkle, not so much in a sad way, but in a curious way. Like, have things changed so much in those 5 years, which obviously they have. We had COVID and I was studying during that time. But also, who was that? Who was she who used to find so much joy in so many things? And now I've lost that bit. So everything's very academic now with what I do. So how do I reconnect and find that joy again, really?
Molly Rose, I love this question. because I think that it's so common for so many people. And I think sometimes we take for granted like who we are and what we feel, and that it'll always be there. And sometimes we go through phases. So I just love the question, but I want to ask you some more about just like kind of the journey to this. So like you went back to education as in you went to get another degree. That's what you mean by that?
So I went to get my first degree. So I tried out the whole university thing at the standard time. When I was 18, I was doing a contemporary theatre degree and realised 3 months in, what the chuff is this for? And was like, what do I do with this? This is ridiculous. And was very unhappy as well. So I dropped out and I worked in community theatre for about 15-ish years. But I always knew I wanted to go back to university. I love education. I love learning. And it was actually a passing comment by someone who's actually not in my life anymore, who said, have you ever thought about journalism? Because I'm interested in everything. And to be a journalist, you have to be able to see everything 360. And so 2019, I started part-time at uni alongside the retail job I was doing. Then that course got cut just before COVID. So I had to start again. I did the 3 years and then I jumped straight into my MA. So it was a real baptism of fire. So this was my first degree.
And were you jumping in so hardcore because you were just like, I fucking love this and I really am interested and intrigued by this? Was it like a perfect storm of COVID and you were like, now or never? Or what was the setup there?
Yeah, really interesting to reflect on that, because at first I went part-time, kind of financially, and also like I can't remember how to learn, like I can't remember education and what is an essay? How do I spell my own name? That kind of thing. But then when COVID happened, I was like, well, I don't want to have to start again. So I was like, right, I'm just going to jump straight into it. Also, I was very interested in the topics themselves.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing, and maybe this is a part of the bigger point, is that failure was not an option. So because I felt as a few different things. As a mature student, I was going for a career. So I was going for, right, I'm going to study journalism and come out and be a journalist. Also, my family is extremely well educated. They're very, very intelligent in very obscure things. Like my grandfather spoke and read Russian. Like my last memory of him was he was reading his like Russian novels when he forgot who all of us was. I went to visit him at the hospital. Like he didn't know who any of us was, but he was still reading in Russian. So education is really, and knowledge is really valued in my family. And I think I've always felt like a bit of an anomaly because I didn't do those steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, failure just wasn't an option. So I threw myself into it face first and got those good grades, even though, I'd never celebrated them. But
sure, of course not. Why would you do such a crazy thing as celebrate yourself for a win?
Celebrate my achievements. What the hell's that?
Why?
I don't know.
Why would we do something like that?
Ooh.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Explaining football to the friend who's just there for the nachos? Hard. Tailgating from home like a pro with snacks and drinks everyone will love? An easy win. And with Instacart helping deliver the snack time MVPs to your door, you're ready for the game in as fast as 30 minutes. So you never miss a play or lose your seat on the couch or have to go head-to-head for the last chicken wing. Shop Game Day Faves on Instacart and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 grocery orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Other fees and terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Huggies Little Movers. Huggies knows that babies come in all shapes and sizes, and their tushies do too. Huggies has more curves and outstanding active fit. Parents know that there's nothing worse than an ill-fitting diaper, especially for active wiggly babies. Huggies Little Movers are curved to fit all curves, so babies feel comfy no matter how much they're moving around. And we all know they're moving around a lot. They also offer 12-hour protection against leaks, which is a game changer. Get your baby's butt into the best-fitting diaper. Huggies Little Movers. We got you, baby.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids instantly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Sign up for Greenlight today at greenlight.com/Wondery. That's greenlight.com/Wondery.
So we're already like hearing internal pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that a normal thing, Molly Rose, in your life? Like you put internal pressure on yourself to be a certain way or to live a certain way, or is that a through line?
It's a really interesting point, because when you say to be a certain way and live a certain way, no, I've always kind of gone against the grain and never really cared what other people think when it comes to how I decide to live my life. However, when it comes to achievements and work or education or productivity in any way, yeah, the pressure is...
It's got to be a certain way.
It's got to be a certain way. Again, failure isn't an option. And I don't know if I think I kind of know where that's from. But then also it's a certain level that's expected of me. So then when I do achieve those things, people go, well, yeah, of course you did.
Yeah. Which is like so not fair or fun. But there's also, like you mentioned, being a mature student, there is also like, I went back for a part of a graduate degree that I never finished. And it was just a year or two after college. And the way I approached that was completely different than undergrad. Like undergrad, I was just like, all right, I want to drink as much with my friends as possible. And I'd love to get at least a 3.0. I was like, that'd be fine for me. I call that was enough. But then when I went to graduate school, I was a lot more like, no, I'm paying for this, like out of my pocket, and this is different. So it's like, it seems like there was a little bit of that in addition to like kind of historical family pressure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also, I didn't really socialize when I went back to uni because the age gap was so big. I can get along with anyone. In fact, I probably get along with younger people because I can be so immature. But the cultural references, I would mention bands that I grew up with, for example, and people would just be like, who's that? And I would just be like, we have nothing in common. I can't talk to you about this. Yeah. And a big one for me was people on a journalism course who weren't alive for 9/11. And for me, that was huge. It changed the entire world, and journalism obviously massively.
Well, it's not just 9/11, it's you have life history.
Yes.
They don't have a lot of life history yet. And there's no judgment in that. It's not a right or a wrong, but it's just like I'm in a different space because I have children. Like I have to put different priorities forward. So it's like, it's just different.
Yeah.
And you're going to see things differently.
And different priorities, huge, because, even just little things like I just got tired quicker, like even like having to take my dog to the vet and being married. Oh my God, when I would tell people that I'm married, the response would be, oh my God, that's so cute. Just like in passing, just like, yeah, my husband's picking me up. Oh my God, you're married. Oh, that's so cute.
Oh my God, someday I hope I'm married.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Can you tell me about your wedding? Like, okay. So yeah, the different...
You're like, but actually I have homework.
Yeah, actually, I want to do our reading for next week. So...
Well, that's so interesting because you went exactly where I was thinking. But the question I want to ask you is, like, what joy did you have during those 5 years? Like, where did you put joy? And were you just like, now is not the time for joy. I must do my reading. Or, did you just shut down? Like, how did you approach that?
Where did my joy go during that time? I mean...
By the way, that's the name of this episode. Where did my joy go?
Where did my joy go? Yeah. It's a really interesting question because it's not like I shut down completely and went, now is crunch time. I'm going to purposefully, not see my friends or anything like that. I suppose because of COVID happening, that kind of organically happened. I used to do a lot of fitness during COVID, but then that's also very productive. That's not just joy
productive
for joy's sake.
And single, one person.
Yeah, and single one person, yeah. So what did I do for joy during that time? Apart from traveling, when my husband and I were able to go on holiday again, which we both adore, I'd say I don't know, actually. I actually don't know, and that's quite sad.
Well, okay. So what if, Molly Rose, what if we take the judgment out of that?
Yeah.
Because I hear a couple of things, right? some of it is COVID. Like avenues to explore joy and fun were closed. They were like, come back for business later. So that was part of it. But then there's also like, you remind me a little of my wife. So since COVID, she works from home and she gets out of practice talking to people. Like, I mean, I'm not kidding, to the point that sometimes I'll say something and it's just silence and I'll go, so that was a question. Did you hear me? And she goes, I said, mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, actually, that didn't come out of your mouth. And she'll be like, oh. And so it's like, I feel like a thing happened. You focused on a very important thing and you wanted to do it well because of some family pressures and whatever. And also because you were excited by it, was something you really wanted to do. And then maybe you got out of practice a little bit. I mean, I'm just wondering like how that lands for you.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I was excited to get back into education. I was excited to get nerdy about media law and all of that kind of stuff. So I guess I was finding sprinkles of joy in the work I was doing. And I loved meeting people. I mean, that's the thing. It's very bizarre, actually, because I am an introvert. I love spending time alone. I love my books. Like, I'm a huge book nerd. But when it comes to journalism, you can have little insights and meet these incredible people, and then you can close the door again. And I do really enjoy that. So I guess maybe, you know, that does land. It's very similar, actually, to my husband. Like, he works with motorbikes and his passion is motorbikes. So his joy is at work with his motorbikes.
Yeah.
But then I do kind of think that there does need to be that joy separate from the work. And now that I've been doing the work for so long, I guess the novelty and not so much the excitement and the novelty is worn off. And now I've kind of gone, that's my work now. What's the Molly joy? What's the Molly Rose separate joy, you know?
You had mentioned at the top that you were retrying things that had previously brought you joy and that maybe they're not bringing you joy in the same way anymore. So like, what things were those? Because we don't know you. So I want to know what used to bring you joy that isn't.
Yeah.
Anymore.
So I used to do a lot of yoga. I used to be very spiritual in my practice. And I don't mean, and I don't know if you're allowed to say this, but I don't mean wanky spiritual.
Oh, I love you saying that. Yeah.
That's
you can
okay.
say anything you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wanted to connect with the practice on a very authentic level. But even the term authentic is loaded nowadays. But like in a historic practice, I always really wanted to connect with it in that way. I loved yoga. I loved the movement. I loved how I felt after it. Two things happened. The first thing that happened is I think that yoga itself has changed. I went to a yoga studio nearby, but I found that the people who were going, and it was just getting further and further away from what I was comfortable with. And my body very much changed over the last year. I've had a journey with endometriosis, so my body has been changing a lot. And then the other thing was I did a documentary about yoga and how far has that practice come from its roots. And, you know, it's the classic thing, oh, I find it interesting, so now I'm going to ruin it for myself. I'm going to completely destroy everything I love about it. And so, like, other things that brought me joy, what else did I used to do? I used to take my husband and I used to take our dogs out quite a lot. We used to do nice long walks.
Can I ask a question? Do you, or have you considered, or are you open to considering that your joy is very serious and your joy is fixing and helping and making yourself a better person? And by the way, great. I'm happy those are a part of your life, but I don't hear any frivolity. And you might not be a frivolous person, but is that an area that perhaps to explore, like shit for just no reason?
Yeah, no one's ever put it like that for me before. And that's very much hit a nail on the head. And that's hilarious because I consider myself quite silly. Like, I used to study clowning, but then I studied clowning.
You studied clowning! Studied clowning!
But if you talk to someone who's a real clown, you do have to study it. So
you do.
This is very enlightening. I'd never really, because I love something that university really lacked for me was punchy debate. Because I do find joy in getting into the nitty gritty.
Yes, as do I.
And people challenging me for it, ping pong, back and forth. Not necessarily with the idea of changing anybody's mind at all, but in the idea of finding the grey and finding the sticky and the juicy in the middle. And I suppose
that's such a great way of putting it, because I love that too.
Yeah. But I didn't get any of that at university because, like I said, there was the age difference. And actually, we were the techniques we were actually taught as journalists were ones that I didn't 100% agree with moving journalism forward as a concept. Like, let's not repeat what's being done because nobody likes us anymore. Let's change the game. So, yeah, I mean, maybe my joy is actually quite serious.
Yeah, and that's fine. But I'm just wondering if you could sprinkle in there some frivolity, like something that you do for no reason, if it calls to you. I don't think it's a right or a wrong. I think it's an avenue for you to explore, which should be right up your alley. To just be, like, I feel like a practice of journaling, like if you're not already doing it, which I suspect you probably are, but like no?
I'm not journaling, no. And I tried it.
Might not land for you.
Sorry, that was my dog just shaking right by my microphone.
Your dog was like, journal.
I have thoughts to share. I don't journal, and I have tried, and it felt too self-centered. I didn't like, and possibly again to use the word wanky, and maybe I'm doing it wrong, but then that's not the point.
Molly Rose! Molly Rose, you be nice to yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm not very good at that. I'm not very good at that.
It's coming through.
Doing things that are frivolous, I wouldn't know where to start. I consider every pound I spend, like literally everything is a thought process. I have OCD. I have POCD. So I have
Steph's raising her hand.
I have OCD too.
High five for the trauma. So I have POCD. So it's the thought processes. So it's like being stuck on a carousel, which I also did a documentary about. You got to find use in these thoughts. So obviously having that obsessive nature, what is this pound I'm spending on? Even to the point where I found something out about yoga. I'm on the yoga mat. I associate it with this. Bum, ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum. Before you know it, the horse counters off. So being frivolous doesn't compute with an anxious mind.
I feel like we're like really in the like headiness of it. And I guess before I put my thoughts, I just want to know, how does this like, because you came here today with like self-identifying that you have lost some of the sparkle. So like, how did you come to that place? Is it something that you like are experiencing every day where you're like, what's the point in everything? Is it like, something that like you analyzed and came to, like, how does it show up for you in your life?
It's definitely something I analyzed and came to, because I wouldn't say I'm depressed. I wouldn't say I'm not finding my joy in a depression sense, because I've been there. I've been depressed, and it's not quite as hopeless and dark as that, when you have those times when you're depressed and it's literally like, I cannot lift myself out of this. It doesn't feel hopeless. It's literally a place of curiosity that if I'm not working at the moment, I'm either feeling guilty for what I am doing, which is reading my book or watching Bones, or and thinking about work. It's kind of like, I can't remember what I did before that point. And there is a part of me that also feels I'm not, and this might be down, so I'm on antidepressants, and I have been, I'm not sure, probably for post-COVID.
And I think people think that antidepressants are only for depression, but they're not. We use antidepressants to treat a multitude of different mental health disorders like OCD. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I went to the doctors with like, I don't want talking therapies anymore. I just want to feel better, Yeah. And I was in a different job at the time. And I've noticed over the past couple of years, it almost feels like there's a block. So I was at my cousin's wedding and I couldn't cry, even though I knew it was beautiful. Or I'm watching something very sad and it feels a block. And I feel like there's that block with the joy as well. So whether it's a chemical thing, I don't know, but it is something that I've noticed.
I was just going to ask that. Isn't the whole point, and I am by no means an expert on this, so I am asking it as a question, like that some part of it is like taking the edge off, but it can take off the highs as well as the lows.
And that's what I think I'm starting to acknowledge, is that it's almost like it's just maybe balanced. And
Yeah.
and that's what I needed at the time, but I didn't want it to take. I love getting hysterical. I love laughing until my belly hurts,
Yeah.
And it's taken both of those, the ups and the downs, it's taken both of them away.
What I will say as an OCD babe is that there's like a all or nothing thinking that is easier to get to when you have different anxieties and panic disorders that run like that. And I think that there is an option if you want to explore it that isn't ripping the Band-Aid off and being completely off medicine, but is just like taking it down a notch. But I'm not a doctor. So like I would talk to your doctor about that, because I have gone up and down with my meds before, and that's an option. It doesn't have to be on medicine or off medicine. It can be on less medicine or on more medicine.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Yeah.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Think scaling AI is hard? Think again. With Watson X, you can deploy AI across any environment. Above the clouds, helping pilots navigate flights, and on lots of clouds, helping employees automate tasks. On-prem, so designers can access proprietary data, and on the edge, so remote bank tellers can assist customers. Watson X works anywhere, so you can scale AI everywhere. Learn more at ibm.com/WatsonX. IBM. Let's create.
You know that feeling when your favorite brand really gets you? Deliver that feeling to your customers every time. Memorable moments like these are key to building your business and your brand. Klaviyo turns your customer data into real-time connections across AI-powered email, SMS, and more, making every moment count, so you can continue to build smarter, more meaningful relationships with your customers. Build smarter digital relationships with your customers and make every moment count with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/BFCM.
I have this thought that's coming up that's like, you are also in a new phase. Like what worked for you then may not work for you now. And that's okay. It's just, it's like recognizing it's a new phase. Like I think about when I had kids, like I used to think like, I need my kids to just get a little bit older, because when they're older, I'm going to go back to, I can be spontaneous again. And then they got older and they left the house for like a camp for like 2 weeks. And all I wanted to do was like watch TVs and like I was not doing anything spontaneous because I'm in a different phase now. And it happened. And I had to kind of grieve that, because I was like, oh, that phase is over. And I'm now this person who goes to bed at 9. And like, if I can come meet you, I will, but probably not. I might not, so it's like that kind of understanding that you might not be where you were like 5 years in a university setting, COVID, like being older, it's all different now.
Yeah.
And that can be sad, but that can also be exciting if you can embrace the new phase.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. Like not trying to grasp whatever it was before.
You're a different Molly Rose than you were before you started that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's, I suppose, because the setting hasn't changed. It's kind of like, I've moved on, but nothing's changed around. And that almost like doesn't compute for my all or nothing brain. It's kind of like, well, everything looks the same. I mean, my arse doesn't look the same. My arse looks different.
Again, tell me about it.
But that's a really interesting way to look at it.
I'm wondering, you had mentioned that you like to travel with your husband, and I'm wondering where you find the joy when you're traveling.
Oh, wow. I'm a completely different person when we travel. We went to Spain this year. We traveled across Spain. It was extraordinary. Like, it solidified my love of Spain. I was very much in control of everything. I was really, really confident. Like, I had my itinerary. This is the coach. We go left, we go right, we go up. No, don't want that pizza. You know, really kind of in control of it. I'm very in control at home, but in a very tight, clenched, stressed way. Whereas when we're abroad, it's almost like, well, I'm not Spanish, so I'm probably going to make a mistake and that's all right. Whereas here, well, I live here. Yeah, I shouldn't make mistakes because that's here. So even when we went to India, I was so confident. And it was freaking India. Like, I was terrified before we went. But like, my husband said to me, he was like, you're just walking down the streets like you freaking live here. Like, it's like a whole new shape. So I don't know where she goes as soon as I get off the plane.
Well, that's why I asked, because I was like, I imagine, just based on the way that you're talking, that a lot of the person you are when you're traveling, in terms of like what you're actually doing, is similar to what you enjoy doing in your day to day. Like, you're probably still reading books and going on walks and exploring things. There's probably an agenda. And so I would imagine that's similar to your life when you're at home, but you're not maybe allowing yourself the grace that you allow yourself when you're on vacation, because there's a unknown that you have to accept. And I would challenge you to like accept the unknown in your everyday life as if you were on vacation, because I bet you're like a sillier version of yourself on vacation too, because you do accept that. And so there's like more room to play. Does that make sense or like resonate at all?
No, it really does. Accepting the unknown is a terrifying concept.
It is.
But I know I can do it because I've done it. I know I can do it.
I will say that I don't actually fully accept the unknown. I accept that there is an unknown.
But there is an unknown. Yeah. That's a nice way of rewording it. So it's slightly less, I don't have to agree with what comes my way.
I think the reality is like, this is not some like, we're not saying you got to go out and find meetups and start a bridge group. You know what brings you joy. I wouldn't even stop you from making a documentary about it. It brings you joy to do that, to dive deep into a thing. I personally would love to see you, when possible, remove the judgment of what you're doing and how you're doing it and allow yourself to explore freely. It's along the lines of what Steph's saying about when you travel, who you are, but just like giving Molly Rose a little grace, a little space, and that it is like, I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to say to you, like, it's all happening and it's all okay right now, right here. And there isn't an agenda or a thing that must be done, just being okay with a new phase and how it looks and exploring a little bit. Like in the way that you came into university and you were like, I'm diving in. What if you dove in to an exploration of joy without judgment and just try it on and see? And you do, if nothing else, what we know, you can take a premise and run that shit down. So why not take this premise and run that shit down and see what happens? Because it's either going to help or it's going to give you a whole lot of information about what is working or not working, so you could come up with your next premise. You enjoy that. Why would we ever want to take that away? That brings you joy.
Yeah.
You already have like the best tool, which is like being curious about the world. Like I have a garden out front of my apartment in Brooklyn, and I always say it's a vegetable garden. I maybe get 7 vegetables a year. You know, like there's herbs and there's probably 7 vegetables, and I probably spend like $200 on this stupid garden, you know? But the garden isn't stupid because the point of the garden isn't the vegetables. You know, like we think that the point of doing the thing is getting the product at the end, like making it productive, getting the documentary, like completing the thing. But it's like, actually, the part of the garden that brings me joy is walking outside every morning and being like, how does a cucumber grow? What the hell is this? Like yesterday it looked like this, and now it has this weird like vein going down the middle that like is purplish, like, you know, and it's like getting curious and excited about that. And that brings me joy. And I think you have that tool, which is like seeing the world and being curious about it and getting excited by it. But maybe the space to like sit in that and play in that isn't in your everyday.
Yeah, it's totally right, because I'm just kind of also coming back to the idea of judgment of the things that I do enjoy. I either have to put a reason behind it, a reason why I'm doing that thing, or I have to see if someone else finds it joyful as well. So, you know, I never thought I would, but I like true crime. But there is a part of me, if I sit there and I'm listening to something and I'm going, oh, it's not what's everyone going to think. It's just what am I thinking? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why would I? And actually, I do really want to do some research on women and true crime. I think that's fascinating, you know? So it's almost like I want everything that I'm finding interesting, I want to turn into a thing.
But can't both things happen, Molly Rose? Like, can't you, like, as an example, like, I like to do a morning walk before I start my work day. And half the time I'm like, I got to get my steps in. I got to turn this into a workout. But sometimes I'm like, stop it, Robin. Like, just walk today. Don't try to turn this into an exercise. And so, like, why can't you do both? Why can't you sometimes listen to true crime and go, stop it, Molly Rose. I'm just enjoying this, and I'm kicking my feet up, and I'm petting my dog while I listen, or I'm knitting, or whatever you do with your hands when you listen. I play Candy Crush when I'm listening. Whatever that thing is, like, and you define it, you name it, and you say, this is what I'm doing. But then other times you're going to allow the side of Molly Rose that gets joy from actually doing a documentary about why women love true crime. Like, both things can be true at once.
Yeah, and I do think it all, this is just literally just popped into my head, but the analyzing what's bringing me joy, I think comes back to my sister and I were only allowed to watch 2 hours of TV a day when we were growing up. Absolutely fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. We were encouraged to go outside and bang a ball against the wall or whatever. Lived in the countryside, so there's lots of places to run around. But I loved TV as a kid. I loved Buffy. I loved The OC. I loved The Simpsons. So having to analyze and kind of go, okay, so The Simpsons is with the adverts, that's half an hour. And then Buffy can sometimes be 40 minutes. So before I knew it, I had to calculate how much, you know, if The OC was on at 9:00 that night, okay, so that's an hour. So then I can, you know, like really like pinning it down. And so that's, I thought that maybe only lived in me when it came to TV, but actually maybe it lives in me even when I'm reading my book or listening.
As does the judgment. As does the judgment. That there's, like you said, there's nothing wrong with the 2-hour limit, but a limit sometimes can make you feel like, oh, when I go outside that limit, I'm bad or I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a way that you work with your own brain to be like, I can allow myself this much time just listening, not bettering myself, and just enjoying the experience of listening to this thing. Yeah. And then without judgment, switching to something else. Neither producer Steph or I are any good at this. Just to be 100% clear, this is a struggle that we have as well. And I have to imagine many folks listening do. Like, you are not alone. And I hope that makes you feel better. But all we can do is, I think, remind each other, hey, you're doing that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is always good to remember that you're not alone. And I lost a lot of, sounds bad, but I lost a lot of friends to parenthood. Let's just put it that way, you know.
No, that doesn't sound bad. It happens.
It happens. And so then our journeys are very different when we do see each other. So to be able to connect with people, to kind of go, it's all right. We were all doing this. That does happen. But then I didn't get that at uni. You know, they were all kind of like going out on the whoop whoop. And I was there going,
you're like, I'm not for the whoop.
I'm not for the whoop.
But that might be part of your exploration is like, as an introvert, how much could I look to put back in my life of forming friendships? Like, this is, I feel like you're in a boat and me and Steph are on the shore, or actually maybe we're in a boat next to you because we're also in the water and we're flailing a little bit, but we're all flailing. And like, we're just kind of like shoving you off, smashing some champagne on the boat and going, start this journey. Like, let's see what this looks like. And I can't wait to just like meet with you on the other side and see what shows up. Cause like this exploration is going to be really interesting for you. And you have everything you need to start. You know, like, you know yourself, you know, you're an introvert, you know, you're looking for maybe some more friendships, you know, you like structure, you know, you're not, you know, the judgment piece, you know all the parts. I just think like it's a new path to kind of walk down and see like your joy search.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Exactly it. And, you know, like I said before, if it wasn't for the antidepressants, I'd probably cry a bit.
You're crying inside.
I'm crying inside.
Down.
Yeah. Inside I am a blubbering mess, but on the outside it's balanced. I really like the idea of the boat because, you know, water, we can ride it. We can't necessarily control it. And also, you know, acknowledging that I have changed, that everything has changed, you know, and not just saying, oh, the world has changed because of COVID, because that's what I always kind of do. I'm like, oh, everything, you know, blah. But actually, my journey has massively changed during this time. And I went in university as one thing and have like come out something else. So no, why did I think everything was going to be the same? Of course it wasn't.
Well, I mean, we're just like ever evolving, all of us.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much, Molly Rose, for just sharing your story, because it helps us. It helps me and Steph. I'm speaking for Steph. I think it helps other people just having these conversations. And I want to leave you by saying bon voyage. Like
ahoy, matey.
All aboard.
I think that sounded cooler in our heads than it did when it came out, but still.
No, I love it. I've got a little sailor hat on in my visualization. I've got a little sailor hat and a little parrot.
I love it. I just love that conversation. And I have to tell you, I truly believe that Molly Rose has everything that she needs. And so I'm wishing her well. But after we hit stop on recording this conversation, Steph and I got into, of course, a discussion about if we feel a lot of joyful moments in our lives. And us being us, we decided to challenge ourselves to sharing one joyful moment, just one each day, with each other for a week to see what happens. Take a listen. Okay, I'm a little grumpy, but I do have one joy moment for you for today. I told you about my whole saga about me trying to kill the spotted lanternflies on the tree that is being murdered by them on my walk. And so I haven't walked in a couple days, and those little fuckers were back. So I found a stick, and I was murdering them. There was a lot of them, and some shit was flying. And a guy walked by me, and he goes, "Yeah, get them." He was like, "We got to get them." He's like, "I'm looking for them everywhere." And I said, "Me and you, we are the same person." And he made me so happy that he saw me and that he knew what I was doing. And I was also meditating as I did it, which is a little weird. I had to pause and rewind the meditation because I was really intent on killing the bugs. So anywho, that brought me joy that it was like a connected moment with a random dude in the park.
Just gonna highlight that my moment of joy yesterday. Also, I'm on the plane right now, so sorry if it sounds like I'm in a wind turbine. But I had like work until 6, and then I was going to the airport at 6:30, and my partner had work until 5, and then they have class that starts at 6:30. And instead of going from work to school, which takes like a bit, thank you very much, they came home in between, which like added an extra hour to their travels just to see me, and that was really sweet.
Okay, small moment of joy. I'm not going to qualify it. I'm not going to say anything around it. I mean, this is absurd, but I took the air conditioner out of our bedroom and opened the window, and a lovely breeze came in, and I came around the corner to come into the bedroom, and I could see the whole like view into the park from our room in the museum that's been blocked by the air conditioner for the summer, and it was delightful. That's my moment of joy for today.
My moment of joy is that, well, it's very early here. It's only 9:30 in the morning. I left New York at 6 p.m. New York time. Napped for like an hour and a half on the plane, and I was miserable when I went to bed last night. I ordered food to the wrong address, probably because I was delusional I hadn't slept. But I was like, I'm going to be so groggy tomorrow, it's going to be horrible. But it wasn't. I was like so happy. I took a shower, and then I was like, Meg, do you want to go get breakfast? Because we had time. And we walked out the door and it was sunny, and I feel like it's never sunny in London, but it's sunny and the weather's beautiful, and we went to this little cafe and they had a vegan full breakfast that didn't include any of my allergies, so I ate the shit out of that, and it was beautiful, and the sun was shining on Megan's little face, and it was so cute, and I loved it, and that's my moment of joy so far, and it's only 9:30, so I'm sure I'll have another one. Very exciting. Love food, especially when I can eat it.
Okay. So, this moment of joy thing is like harder than I feel like it should be. Like, I was like, oh, am I going to have a moment of joy? Like, and then I just think like, maybe I'm just like not noticing the small things. I don't know. This has been a very illuminating exercise, even though it's giving me anxiety. Help me, Steph.
Oh, I'm sorry that you're having a hard week and that you have to send moments of joy, but maybe it's a good thing because maybe it'll help you see them, and maybe before you wouldn't look for them.
All right. Day 5. Joy. The Chronicles of Robin's unhappiness. No, all right. I'm watching TV. It's the end of the day. I'm a little sore. Mary and I started lifting again on Sunday. And my cat came in. She's been ignoring me all week, and she sat on my chest for a little bit, and she was purring, and she was purring really loudly. And if you know anything about Lucy, she doesn't really purr very often or actually sit with people or like people or anything. And now she's sitting at the end of the bed, and she's just being my best friend. That's what I say to her. I'm like, are you my best friend? And she just walks away usually. So there you have it. That's my joy for today.
My moment of joy is that I just left the Airbnb and I went and met up with Steph, who you may remember from one of the recordings with Nikki and Steph, because Steph lives in London, and I'm staying with her for the week, and it's really nice that I get to see her. And then we just left her flat, and it was like really sunny out, and we're walking, and we're going to take a boat, and the trees were like yellowy green and all pretty, and I took a picture, and I thought, oh my God, how lucky am I that I've made a life where I get to fly to England to visit my friend from Canada. Like, that's crazy. People don't even get to go to England in their lifetime. And I have a friend that lives here, and I get to stay with her, and I get to come here. Like, that's so cool. And I hope I don't take it for granted, but sometimes I do. And yeah, so my moment of joy is just simple, and it's that the leaves were green and yellow and the sun is out, and I feel lucky that I get to be here. Okay, bye.
Okay, I'm at the library, and I just realized I had another joyful moment yesterday that was funny, that I took Maxine went on a walk with me yesterday with Mary, and I showed her and told her all about my tree with the bugs that I've been squishing, and she was super into the murdering of the spotted lanternflies. So that was a joyful moment of the two of us with sticks bashing bugs. Okay, I'm leaving the library, so I'm trying to chat quietly. Okay, bye.
My moment of joy yesterday was that I went to therapy, and I mean, I guess it's not joy, but I feel proud of myself that I still prioritize therapy even when I'm away.
Okay, I forgot to give you my moment of joy from yesterday, and I think that actually this might be my last one. But moment of joy, fuck it, I'll give you one from yesterday and from today. Yesterday, I saw Tom, who is my old boss and one of my very bestest friends. We had like a really nice talk, and then we went to see this Eric Idle thing about it was like how the creation of Spamalot, and I just love hearing artists talk about their creation process. And it's like, and they gave out the book, and it was autographed, and it was just, but also it was just so good to see Tom. And afterwards we had this like lovely moment where he just said, I truly miss you. And I said, I know. I said, I look forward to the day when we can work together and I don't have to order you turkey sandwiches. So it was just really nice. And then today, we had a rough go of it with one of my kids last night, and this morning, I could see them trying to implement everything that we talked about, and I could see them, just really trying hard to take in what we said. And it's like, Jesus Christ, as a parent, I think that's all you hope for and wish for. But it brought me some joy. and it was like a really nice way to start the day. So all in all, this has been a fucking interesting exercise, man. It's been hard, and it has felt way more vulnerable than I expected. Like, I'm sharing diary entries with you, and that brought such an awareness to it on so many different levels. So I'm glad we did this, though it was challenging at times. So anyway, all right, thanks for this. Listen, moment of joy for our partnership and for this podcast, because I wouldn't have done this had not it been for you and for the team and for Maria. So, all right then, bye. All right, people, you heard it. That exercise was way harder than I thought it was going to be. Okay, I got into my head with like existential thoughts like, was that actually joy? And then I worried that I wasn't joyful enough. And I felt also kind of naked sharing these voice memos with Steph, who, by the way, from listening to Steph, she's just joy personified. And then I even got more in my head like, am I doing this wrong? But then I talked myself off the ledge and I was like, well, Robin, if any of that is true, then that's information for you to really think about. Also, it can't be that I'm not having a single moment of joy. So maybe I'm just not acknowledging it. But if that's the case, that's something for me to look into too. So that's just kind of a quick snapshot of what it's like being in my brain 24/7. But I did end up thinking that this has been a lovely exercise because it helped me see more joy in my life. And maybe, just like Molly Rose, I needed to look more for my joy. Maybe I have it inside me all along too. I don't know, but I am very glad that we do these things that we're asking our guests to do, Steph and I, because I think it gives us more compassion and insight into these conversations, and it helps us too. So I hope it helps you. Try to report your joy for 7 days. See what happens. I highly recommend it. And then tell us. Let us know. Okay, folks, that is it for today. I want to thank Molly Rose so much for sparking such an interesting and relevant conversation. And by the way, if you're interested in listening to Molly Rose's documentaries, check the show notes. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but like if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original series. It's exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Our producer and editor is Maria Passingham, and our production manager is Kathleen Speckert. Thank you to the entire Edit Audio team and to you for listening. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.